Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the British Tier 10 Tech Tree Heavy Tank, the Chieftain Mk6. Now if you do like the video as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Chieftain Mk6, it is a vehicle that received a change in the last balance patch that happened at the start of the season. And it's one of those that it didn't really need to change. It's already one of the most fantastic Tier 10 heavy tanks, especially hull down, because you've got an incredible gun, you've got good mobility for what it is, you've got fantastic DPM, great penetration. It's just an all-round solid vehicle. The only real downside to the Chieftain is the hull armour, in the fact that the lower plate is so easy to pen, and that the hull armour, or should I say the side armour, is only 38mm thick, which means you get overmatched all the time in the side, and a lot of vehicles at tier 10 can go straight through your tracks, which means you can't really side scrape. But that's not really where this tank wants to be. It wants to be hull down on a ridgeline, just like Proc here, and then farming those shots out, because it is amazing. But it did get changed in the recent balance patch. I don't call it a buff, because it was a change, and that is that it got its alpha changed. Well, I suppose it did get buffed. It's got its turret rotation speed buffed from 34 degrees a second to 36, but its alpha damage changed from 400 to 440, like a lot of the other 120mm guns. 8.25 second reload that went up to 9 seconds, so for the 440 alpha buff, you got a reload nerf, which means it's still got the same DPM that it had before the change. That's the whole point, is that they keep the DPM in the same place when they change the alpha. But yeah, so it's got its neat reload nerfed, but got an alpha change, and then it got a little turret traverse buff, which is nice, because the turret traverse was a bit slow on the Chieftain, so it'll take that. But yeah, the change on it is well, it's just a change, really, and it's one of those that it didn't really need, and actually, probably, for me, personally, does it change how good the Chieftain is? No, not at all. Chieftain's still amazing. But it hurt the Chieftain a little bit for me, and that's because I love the fact that this tank could permatrack things. This tank could permatrack vehicles very, very easily, and then you could just sit and farm someone's whole health. It can't really do that anymore, because most people will be able to get the tracks back on before you've reloaded. So it does hurt it in that regard for me, personally. But it's still an amazing tank. It is what it is. So the Chieftain Mk6 with the build that I run has a 48.3 km/h top speed, 15.75 km/h reverse speed, 787.5 horsepower engine, which is a 14.32 horsepower per ton ratio. Which means it's a little bit slow and sluggish to get to the top speed, because naturally it's a heavy tank, but it will get there. And you've got ground resistances that are absolutely amazing as well, and they don't hold the tank back whatsoever. You've got 10% internal fire chance, which is on the low end of fire chances. This vehicle does get set on fire a decent amount though, so I don't know, the 10% is low, but yeah, no, you still get set on fire a decent amount. You've got 40 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which means this vehicle does turn pretty decently quickly on its tracks. And with the 43.79 degrees a second turret traverse now, which is faster than it used to be, it means your turret does out-traverse your tracks quite well, and that's with helping it with something like rapid aim. You've got 512 metres of view range, which means you can spot for yourself quite well in the Chieftain Mk6, and it helps on a map like Proc here to get yourself some good assistance damage, which is why we like to buff up our view range. We've got 0.79 accuracy during rotation with a 1.32 accuracy during movement, and that's without a gun stabilizer. That is absolutely amazing, and it means this gun doesn't bloom out much at all, and if it does, you've got 1.38 second aim time, which is absolutely incredible yet again, which means this gun is absolutely phenomenal. It's always been the key strength of the Chieftain, is the turret armor and then the absolutely incredible gun. And it means you can snap shots left, right, and centre, and you're always ready to go. And that's why we run all 3 gun perks, to make sure that the gun is as good as possible without the gun stabilizer, and we're just always ready to go. And the fact that it doesn't have to run the gun stabilizer means that you can run other things like the powertrain to be able to get that extra top speed and that extra little bit of horsepower in the engine to give you that extra little oomph. You got 10 degrees of gun depression, which means you are incredibly flexible on a ridgeline, like you're seeing in this replay, and like you'll see for the Chieftain in general, because that's what it does, it's its key strength. Meaning you can bounce a good amount of shots off the turret armour of this vehicle, and then dish out the punishment with this 120mm gun. You got 0.26 accuracy at 100 metres, which means this gun is incredibly accurate, and generally, if you get it aimed at target, it will hit its targets very, very easily. You got 6.56 second reload, which is 4,022 DPM, which is absolutely incredible, and it means you absolutely shred. There is a lot of vehicles with 4k DPM now. This used to be one of those tanks that had up to that point, and was one of the only vehicles that had it, alongside some of the other British tanks, but they've buffed a lot of vehicles that now have around that 4k mark, like the E5, M60s, M48, 120s, etc, etc. You've got 270 pen on the standard APDS rounds, with 326 penetration on the premium APDS rounds, and 140 pen on the standard HESH round. The HESH round is great for 140 pen with 530 alpha, and it goes through a lot more than you actually think it would, and you can pen so many vehicles with that HESH round. It is lovely, and again, your DPM goes through the roof when you use those HESH rounds. The APDS rounds have fantastic penetration as well, meaning you won't struggle with anything you're going to face, and they've also got good velocity at 1372 on the standard APDS and 1350 on the premium APDS, meaning that you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with the Chieftain Mk6. But bear in mind that if you load the HESH rounds, they are incredibly slow. 671 meters a second shell velocity, incredibly slow, meaning they do loop, so if you fire the HESH rounds at distance, you will feel a little bit of difference in the gun handling, and you'll feel that the gun handling gets a little bit derpier, and a lot of it is down to that shell velocity being so slow. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment for the Chieftain Mk6? Well, for this vehicle, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Track Mechanic, Rapid Aim, with the Advanced Loader, the Optics, and the Powertrain. Powertrain to get the extra top speed, but also the extra oomph in the engine, and that's because this tank is a little bit sluggish, so an extra bit to the power to weight ratio is very, very nice indeed, and you do feel a slight difference in that, and it's only a slight difference, but you do still feel a slight difference in that mobility and getting to your top speed. The optics to be able to get the best view range I can get on the Chieftain, so I can spot for myself really, really well and get good assistance damage games like you're seeing here. The advanced loader to get the best out of the DPM, because that is one of the key strengths of the vehicle. All three gun perks to make sure this gun is as good as possible, and so I don't have to run the gun stabilizer, so that I'm always ready to snap shots left, right, and centre. And then Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better than the tracks, because it's one of those things that can be a bit frustrating if you don't, or frustrating for me at least. But that's what I run in terms of a crew and equipment. There's plenty of different ways to kit out the Chieftain. It's really down to you and how you want to kit out the vehicle. So as you saw with that first game, we finished for 4.3k damage, the 4.6k assistance, the second class. Pretty nice game there for the Chieftain Mk6 on proc, and it showed off what the Chieftain can do, where you go hull down, use that turret armour, bounce a fair few shots, dish out the damage consistently with this gun. And the reason that we like kitting out for view range as well, so that you can actually get some good assistance damage and act like a scout for your team, especially where your scouts have YOLO'd or died. But you also did see some slight problems with the Chieftain there, where when we went over on the Foch 155, we overexposed a little bit, and then that guy auto-penned and tractors, which happens all the time. This thing does like getting its tracks blown off, which is why we run Track Mechanic, so we can get the tracks back on quicker if we've already used the repair kit, because a lot of shots will just hit the tracks and insta-blow the tracks off, and then you'll get stuck, which can be frustrating in the Chieftain. So we're on to the second game, and the second game we're here on this map, which is Westfield, and on Westfield, what I want to do is go to that ridge line directly. Mr. Bulldog, that didn't look like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater move that you wanted to do, my son, as we punished him for 481 there. And again, you saw the gun handling on the move. This vehicle is just incredible with its gun, it really is. It'll hit shots left, right, and centre really easily. But yeah, I want to be on this ridgeline directly in front of me, because when I get to this ridgeline, I can go hull down, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, poke over, and shoot people as they cross the B line. I can also then poke over and shoot the people that will sit at A6 and at B7 too. I've got the flexibility to do what I want from this position. So we're just going to go and poke over. We see the WZ-111-5A. I want to try and aim my shot into the back of his tank there, so I can either track him, but also possibly set him on fire. We penned him, but he managed to get himself away, and it means we can't actually get another shot into that guy. We've got to be careful, though, with that WZ-111-5A, because if he was to advance a little bit more aggressively, he could have shots into my side, as there's not really many people here helping us fend off that left-hand side. But with the Nice 4 and a T58 Heavy currently progressing up into the open, we're going to take every opportunity we can to be able to get shots into these guys and try and whittle them down. Now, I was quite surprised I wasn't penning the IS-4 here at this angle with 270 pen, but the IS-4 is a very heavily armoured vehicle, and it's actually quite surprising where and when you will bounce on that vehicle. So yeah, we just weren't penning it, and yeah, I gave up going for him. So we've loaded premium so that we could go through the IS-4 if we needed it, but we've actually got a Chaug on our right, who I was fully surprised to be where he is, and I realised, oh boy, I might be taking a hit here. If I can track this guy before he comes over, that'd be great. And in fact, he does end up getting tracked, and we re-track him. This is exactly what we needed to do. And sadly, that's where the Chieftain, with the reload buff, or the reload nerf to the alpha buff, that's the way I should put it, can't permatrack vehicles like we could with the old 400 alpha. So that guy, we couldn't permatrack him like I wanted to, and that was the old reflex I had for the Chieftain. I tracked him and went, aha, I can now permatrack you. Oh, I can't. As he managed to get it on about half a second before I'd actually reloaded, which was sad, but we did manage to get the whole damage on that Chaug to finish him off. We finished off the WZ-111-5A as well. The T-58 Heavy's a one-shot, so we're just waiting on the reload to see if we can hit him while on the move, which we do, finishing him off. And there's now one tank left in front of us on this side of the map, and it is Mr. IS-4, and I want to get behind him and absolutely farm him with my great DPM and just get after him. So we're going to go after him, go for that tracking shot. We missed the tracking shot and pen him, which we'll take the free damage, but I wanted to track and pen him so I could get that assistance damage when he starts to get farmed, which is what's starting to happen, which is exactly why we went for that tracking shot, and we finish him off with a shot to the rear. Now, obviously, if we'd had the 400 alpha, that IS-4 wasn't a guaranteed kill, but since we now have 440, 415 is a guaranteed kill. Well, near enough a guaranteed kill. I say guaranteed kill. RNG is still a thing. RNG still likes to laugh at you, and RNG still likes to go, I'll leave him alive. And then we sit here crying as we didn't kill the IS-4, and the IS-4 then amaraxes because RNG's a cruel mistress and it likes to laugh at you, you know. But that didn't happen, so we got the kill on the IS-4, up to 5.6k damage with 4 kills. We see the Technodrome, fire on the move, and we only track the Technodrome. But it is a small target, and we weren't fully aimed. But on the move yet again, we hit him, no problem whatsoever. Trying to track and pen this Technodrome, but well, unfortunately, we end up just misleading that, really. Didn't get the... That was bad aim. Bad aim is all it was. We finish off the Panzerjäger with just the Technodrome left on the opposition. He damages the ammo rack, which again goes all the time on the Chieftain. The Chieftain does have a very weak ammo rack, and it is in the lower plate and behind the drive wheels and in the centre of the vehicle. So if you get your ammo rack damaged on the Chieftain Mk6, don't be surprised if your ammo rack blows, because yeah, this vehicle always loses its ammo rack, which is definitely a bit of a pain for the Chieftain Mk6. So there's one tank left on my team. It is the Panzerjäger, just looking for the shot there, straight through for 398. See, low rolls. The IS-4 wasn't a guaranteed kill, but we finished the game with the victory. A pretty nice total there with 5 kills, 6.4, nearly 6.5k damage, 1600 assistance, the ace tank at the high caliber, the sniper medal for that 1750 base XP, or 1715, I should say, base XP. Really nice game there for the Chieftain Mk6, again showing off what it's perfectly capable of. You can consistently push out damage, it racks up really quickly, go hull down, you'll laugh. As soon as you get caught out in the open, that's where your HP starts to go. Your ammo rack gets damaged all the time in the Chieftain Mk6, but if you can make the most of it, it used to be pain for the Chieftain, especially pre-6.0, when there was no reusable repair kits, because as soon as you got your ammo rack damaged, your repair kit would be used, you'd repair that ammo rack, and then almost instantly get hit again, damage your ammo rack, and you spent the rest of the game with a damaged ammo rack, and probably the next shot that actually you took probably blew the ammo rack, which was always frustrating. But since we've got reusable repair kits, it's not as much of a problem, because you can just keep putting it in every 60 seconds, which is where you could definitely run something like supply conservation, because, yeah, sure, you could run pain tolerance or the other skill like safe stowage and stuff like that to be able to reduce the chance of mirror getting damaged, but you could just run supply conservation, get food and the repair kit and the med kit back that little bit faster, and it probably just sort you out better because you get the DPM boosted quicker as well, all that good stuff. You know, there's plenty of different ways you can kit out a vehicle, and stuff like safe stowage and all that just generally isn't that useful because you're more likely to get benefit out of other perks, like rapid aim to make the turret traverse better, since if your ammo rack gets damaged, you just got to wait for your repair kit to come back to put it back in. Or, like I say, first shot you take, you just use a repair kit. So we're up to 1299 damage so far, and we're in a nice little farmy location here in the Magic Forest. We've got shots at the 705, the shots at the TNH 105 1000. If things get spotted up at G3, we've also got shots into them as well. And it was quite a nice location to take, but we do have to push this 9 line and get rid of these dudes that are in front of us, like the 705A, which I see as a farm generally. If I can load the premium and go after the 705A, I'm going to do it, because then I can get rid of him, use my great DPM that is far better than him, take most of his hit points, and then, again, progress this fight. Because then we can go after the guys that are on the 2-3 line and not have to worry about getting shot in the rear all too much. So we get a shot into the STRV-81 there that's at the back of the map. He was in the open, so I was hoping to put him down to a one-shot or at least kill him. We get a shot to track and pen the 705 there, because again, I knew that the 705A at this angle I could track and pen. And once again, with all my team coming after him, I'm hoping that I'll get all the assistance damage for it. So we managed to get the track and the pen yet again. And we're starting to get that tracking assist there. Now he's taking hits, or should I say we only really got one shot of damage there, but hey-ho. Their team has pushed aggressively into E2, E3, so we need to try and push out anyone that's sitting at K2 and K3, also the guys that are at G3, because if I can get those guys out and then push into a position where I can get shots into the middle at E3, that is great. But we see the K91 2, and I decide, we're going to get rid of the K91 version 2, and with all the people getting spotted at E2. Actually, I'm going to go into the middle area, especially with a lot of my team pushing the JK. I'm going to go into this middle area where I can shoot these heavy tanks in the side, because from this section here, you can do that. But we actually see the 780 and the other heavy tank have pushed aggressively around the other side of the hill on our side, the MX-M454. So, in fact, instead of going to get shots into the guys in the middle, we have to get rid of the 780 and the MX-M454, because they're going to be a bit of a nuisance shooting our TD and medium tank at B1, and also the heavy tank in the rear at D2. And if we just sit there farming the guys at E2, it's not really going to do as much as getting rid of the two heavy tanks. But we did catch a glimpse at this heavy tank in the middle, which is a Chieftain. I was trying to see where I could actually see the shot into that guy, but yeah, I just couldn't. So the 780 ends up driving out sideways on. He spots us, though, behind that building. We spotted him, and the Ragnarok finishes him off. So with those guys pushing through the 2 line, what I'm actually going to do is get rid of the MX-M454, and then I can go hull down on our defensive ridge at D4 and try and shoot those guys in the side as they try and push the TD and medium tank at B1. But the MX-M454 has to go first. He pens us, we get round his side, RBRT into the side there to just finish him off because it was an easy kill. And now we're in the perfect position for the Chieftain Mk6, which is exactly where I want to be. Where I can go hull down on this ridge. They're not going to really be able to pen me from this section here, and I should be able to get them. So we get the tracking shot there into the E100, but like I say beforehand, if I was having the 400 alpha, I'd be able to perma-track this guy really easily if he took track mechanic. But actually, that E100 used his repair kit, which makes me think that he actually isn't using track mechanic, and that means I can actually perma-track him even with the 440 alpha, which is nice. But the Chieftain Mk6 has actually pushed very, very aggressively, so we're going to punish him for that. And unfortunately, we didn't pick up the kill as we only did track damage, because we went for the shot into the lower plate, but he managed to get himself pulled back just in time. We go for the top bar on the E100, because you can pen that bar on the top of his turret if you aim for where the viewport is, and we get that shot in for 451, as it is a weak spot for the E100 on its turret. You only need about 250, 260 pen to go through it. We take a hit there, and it wasn't very big, so it wasn't the E100 snapping a shot into us. There's another TD back there. So I load Hesh. Hesh, why? So I can hit that bar with the HE and possibly splash him to death, but it just goes a little bit too high and does no damage. But now we've got the Hesh in, we can actually try and get that Taran with the Hesh rounds. And I could switch back to the APDS rounds to be able to penetrate the Taran or the Gorilla or the Machine. But actually with Hesh, I can pen them all. So I'm just going to leave the Hesh in, because if I get the side of a Machine, as long as I don't hit the tracks, I'll be able to do mad damage. And as long as I don't hit the gun of a Gorilla 15, I should have been able to pen the Gorilla. But, you know, RNG is a thing, and so we didn't pen the Gorilla. We did the second time, but yeah. The Machine is also a one-shot for APDS, which means we didn't need the Hesh. And we hit the tracks, so the HE exploded, and we didn't get the kill on the Machine. Tipsicle. Absolutely tipsicle. It is what it is. We're up to 7.2k damage with 492 assistance. There is just that Turan and the machine left, so we're just going to charge after the Turan, RBRT the shot to finish off the machine. And once again, I can pen this Turan with the HE, because 140 pen is great. As long as I don't hit the tracks or his gun, we should be Gucci. And since that Turan's just killed the Technodrome, we can go over, aim the shot, finish him off for 460, which we wouldn't have been able to kill him with the PDS rounds there. That was... we would have had to high roll to kill him, so the Hesh rounds really helped us to kill him there. Finished with the victory, the 4 kills, the 7,000, well, nearly 7,700 damage, 492 assistance, the ace tank of the high caliber with the 1768 base XP. A really nice game there for the Chieftain Mk6, which is an absolutely fantastic tank that got a little buff with the turret traverse, but it's also just been changed in terms of having its alpha changed, which it didn't really need, if we're honest. It's an absolutely amazing vehicle, but there you go. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!